Hello, this is Mason Sports Insider. I am Tyler Byram alongside Dan Ward, and welcome back to George Mason after Thanksgiving break. However, while we were gone, the men's and women's basketball team continued their seasons, and the wrestling team was about to kick off theirs, so we will have a preview for you in this episode.
Happy Thanksgiving, all. Yeah. Welcome back. It was a good time, I hope, at least for me. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving as well. But now it is Christmas time, and it is almost December. It's probably December now when you're watching, which means we're getting into the thick of things in the basketball season with the out-of-conference play. And as we said, a lot of basketball happened over the Thanksgiving break, so let's go and catch up on it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started with the men's basketball team, who look to continue their role by traveling up to Manhattan for a rematch of the thriller last season that ended with a 75-foot buzzer beater from Jalen Jenkins. The team continued their run with a hot start in this contest, jumping out to a 42-31 lead at the halftime break. Coming out from the intermission, the Patriots were able to push their lead up to a game-high 16 points, following behind Marko Ganic each 14 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists. However, the Jaspers followed it up with a 20-4 run of their own that was highlighted by George Mason turnovers, many of those turnovers caused by a tremendous amount of offensive fouls. When the Patriots would drive into the paint, the Jaspers always found a way to jump up in front and get their feet set to get the call. The team would trade points until the end of the contest, until Manhattan's Shane Richards was fouled on a converted layup and hit the free throw to put the team up 69-67 with 1 second left. Siobhan Thompson would go on to miss the buzzer-beating shot, and the Patriots would fall. Patriots would commit 25 turnovers in the game, 14 of them coming in the second half, compared to Manhattan's total of 9 in the entire 40 minutes. The team once again out-rebounded their opponents 40-25, but the turnovers plagued the team. Manhattan was also able to get the victory with only 6 players in the rotation.
After the long trip away from home, the Patriots returned to Eagle Bank Arena Saturday to take on the Raiders of Wright State. Mason turned up the defense in this one, holding Wright State to an 8% field goal percentage in the first half and only 10 total points. The turnover problems from the game against Manhattan were non-existent against Wright State, as the Patriots committed only 11 the entire game in a dominating 66-39 rout of the Raiders. Coach Paulson shook up the starting lineup in this one, giving Jalen Jenkins and Cameron Morrell starts in place of Siobhan Thompson and Jair Greer. The dominating performance allowed Paulson to rest his big man, but Thompson did contribute 5 points and 5 rebounds in only 7 minutes of action. Otis Livingston led the team with 14 points, and senior Patrick Holloway made his return to the court after serving a 6-game suspension. Holloway contributed 8 points on 3 of 5 shooting and 2 of 4 from downtown in 13 minutes of play. Mason's bench also came alive in this one, scoring 27 points. The team is now 3-4 on the season and will take a short trip to Towson on Wednesday to take on the Tigers.
The team remains in last place with a conference record of 3-4 overall. Again, the only team under 500 in the Atlantic 10 looking at our giant killer standings. The only team remaining unbeaten is Davidson at 4-0, while the conference as a whole has cooled down dramatically after knocking off Power 5 teams at the beginning of the season as George Washington lost to Cincinnati, Dayton to Xavier, and St. Louis to Louisville. So, again, a mixed result for the basketball program. I mean, you kind of wanted to see the men's team get the win over Manhattan, especially since they won last year, and then the team looks better than they did last year. Kind of expecting that win, and including that Manhattan only had 6 players. A little disheartening, but against Wright State, I mean, that was a fun game to watch if you're a Patriot fan.
That's the way you come out of a game where you should have won against Manhattan. They should have beat Manhattan. They had the big lead late, but you can see some of the issues with a new team. A lot of turnovers occurred, and they weren't able to shut them down at the end of the game. But then you come out against Wright State and say, you know what, that was a mistake against Manhattan. We are a good team. We're a better team. And they just dominated against Wright State. So that was great to see, and I like what we saw from them in that game.
Yeah, something interesting of note, actually. I find it very interesting. Patrick Holloway came back this game. This is his first time back. He had a 6-game suspension for violation of team rules, which most people believe to be him skipping class. And actually, there was another incident where Siobhan Thompson, Jair Greer didn't get the start, which you mentioned. They actually didn't get the start because they didn't bring their team notebook to practice earlier in the week. So Coach Paulson putting the hammer down, not letting players get away with anything, and there are expectations that the team has to meet. And who knows, that could have been momentum for the team and being like, oh,
Yep.
We need to get our stuff together, and they did against Wright State.
Definitely. You have expectations on the court, but you also have expectations off the court, and we like that Paulson is showing the players that he means business, especially for the young guys. It is important that he is disciplining not only the young guys, but the seniors on the team, the Patrick Holloways and the Siobhan Thompsons, two of the most important players on the team. But he is disciplining them, and he's disciplining the freshmen, which shows that he means business, and going through the rest of the year and the rest of their 4 years, it's going to be very important, and they'll come together even better. So great job, Paulson, and I give him a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, it also goes to show, though, in that game you saw Patrick Holloway return. This lineup can be very dangerous. I mean, Siobhan Thompson, he had, 5 points that
5
game?
points.
And the team dominated, won by, was it over 20, if I don't remember correctly, but still, I mean, the team was able to go out. Holloway only had 8 points, but as a whole, just him being out there is an entire different setup. The defense has set up differently. The entire flow of the offense will look better because he's always a threat. You can't have one guy poach in the lane when you can just pop out to Holloway and hit it down. And he hit his first 2 shots of the season. So it's just dangerous. It's really good to see, exciting to see, and they will absolutely destroy some of the Atlantic 10 defenses going forward in the season.
Without a doubt. Siobhan Thompson big in the middle. Now with adding Patrick Holloway, he's always been a three-point threat. We haven't seen it all the time the last season and the year before, but that was partially due to the offense. Now that he's got this offense with Coach Paulson, a lot of movement, a lot of motion, it's really going to play to his hand well, and we saw it in the last game. Only 13 minutes, but very efficient shooting, and his shot looks even better than it has in the past. A very quick release, really going to put a lot of pressure on the defense to cover the three-point line more, which will then open up our big men, Marco and Siobhan, and then they'll be able to dominate more inside. So looking forward to the season. Glad to have Patrick Holloway back. Just hope that everybody meets the expectations both on and off the court.
Moving forward now to the women's basketball team, who continued their West Coast swing in the schedule with 2 tournaments on the far side of the Rocky Mountains. The first being the CGI Great Alaska Shootout, where the team took on last year's NCAA tournament team and Conference USA champion Western Kentucky. The team would jump out to a slow start offensively and defensively, falling behind 28-17 in the first quarter. That lead would continue to grow into the next period as the Hilltoppers could not miss a shot they put up, while Mason only made 3 shots in the 10-minute quarter. Trailing 50-26 at halftime, even Taylor Brown could not will the team back from the huge deficit, as she was the only Patriot to reach double digits with 14 points. The team would be out-rebounded 49-32 and go on to lose the matchup 84-58 to what Nyla Millicent called an elite team and program.
The loss to Western Kentucky set up a game against Pepperdine University for 3rd place in the Great Alaska Shootout. The Waves opened up the game with an 8-2 run before the Fighting Patriots went on a 7-0 run themselves to take the lead. The game was all tied up at 13-all after 10 minutes of play. The two teams played much more efficiently in the second quarter and battled back and forth before a jumper by redshirt junior Katrina Hutzel was knocked down to give the Patriots the lead for good. In the third, the lead grew as large as 10 thanks to a quick 5 points by Christy McCube off the bench, and the Patriots went into the fourth and final quarter up 48-42. The Waves did not go down quietly, however, as a 7-2 run to open up the fourth got them within 1. But thanks to a momentum-swinging 3 by senior Rihanna Muhammad, the Patriots went on a run of their own to take a 59-51 lead halfway through the fourth. Mason continued to pile it on mostly from the free throw line, where they shot 76% in the game, including 14 of 18 in the second half. And the team would go on to secure the win 71-63 to get the 3rd place finish in Alaska and give Nyla Millicent her 500th career win. Kara Wright led the team with 20 points, with 3 other Patriots scoring in double figures. The bench continued their strong play in the early part of the season, outscoring the Waves bench 20-9. The team packed their bags and said bye-bye to Alaska and hello to Nevada to compete in the Lady Rebel Roundup in Las Vegas.
Kicking off the Lady Rebel Roundup, George Mason took on the Lady Rebels themselves of UNLV. Coming to the match, UNLV was undefeated on the season, but the Patriots wanted to spoil the party. Early on, George Mason broke out to a 6-3 lead with 2 strong offensive possessions, but the team then went cold and UNLV jumped out to a 25-23 lead at the end of the first half. Mason was all in, ready to contest for an upset win against the Lady Rebels, but at halftime, UNLV's halftime adjustments allowed them to go on a 19-8 run in the third quarter. In the final frame, the Patriots attempted to go on a run and climb back within 10 points, but Taylor Brown, who scored 10 points alone in the quarter and would finish with 14 in the game. Kara Wright would add 9 points and 4 blocks for the Patriots as they would fall 67-59, with their only lead being that 3-point advantage they had in the first quarter. The Patriots bench would score a season-high 30 points, who was led by Jewel Triggs, who had 9 in the game.
Similar to the Alaska tournament, the Patriots were looking to take home third place, this time taking on the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes. The Patriots came out ready to play on both ends of the court in this one. Defensively, they held Tulsa to 22% shooting in the first quarter, allowing only 9 total points. Offensively, they played aggressive, getting an early 6-3 lead thanks to 4 points from Taylor Brown, and later went on a 7-0 run via Jewel Triggs and Bridget O'Donnell to take an 18-9 first quarter lead. Mason cruised through the first 5 minutes of the second quarter to extend their lead to 28-17. The team fouls caught up with them early as Tulsa got to the bonus with 5 minutes left in the half. Thanks to several trips to the line and a 5-minute drought by Mason, the Golden Hurricanes tied the game up at 28-all late in the second. The game was competitive from this point on, with the Patriots' largest lead only being 5 at any point. Moving on to the final 2 minutes of play, the Patriots were down 59-57 in need of someone to step up offensively. The final 2 minutes turned into the Taylor and Taylor show, with Taylor Dodson scoring 5 in a row for the Patriots on a putback layup and a 3-point play. After a turnover gave Tulsa the 63-62 lead, the reigning A10 scoring champion Taylor Brown scored her 21st points of the game for the game winner. The team won the rebounding battle again and shot a consistent 46% while holding Tulsa to only 35%. Coach Millicent said, "It was a great team win. We have grown through this road trip and are very excited to get 3 straight games at the Eagle Bank Arena. The first of those games will be Wednesday, where they will play host to Georgetown."
After the 2-2 tournament record, the team remains 11th in our Giant Killer A10 standings with a 3-5 overall record. St. Louis, Dayton, Duquesne, and Richmond remain at the top and running the show in the conference. So what's with this flow? You're getting all the games that the team wins, and I get all the games that Mason loses. We got to switch that up in our pre-show talk about that.
Well, then in that case, maybe I should just cover all the games, because then we get the winning games.
And I'll make it
keep winning.
Dan's the host from now on. I'm done. After this episode, that'll be it. I'll retire. But good showing, I would say, for a women's basketball team. I mean, they were 2-2 overall, which when you look at it, you're just kind of like, eh. But when you look at the teams that they played, I mean, Western Kentucky, they're always one of the top teams in the country. They win basically a lock to the NCAA tournament by winning Conference USA. And then UNLV, a team on the rise. I believe they were 4-0 going into the game against the Patriots. Another strong team, and it was a good test for the Patriots.
Without a doubt, and it was out west. You got to put all the factors of traveling out west, the time difference, the flying, the jet lag, put that all into play, and they played pretty well. Like we said, Western Kentucky, very tough team, but then they came out after the losses and played 2 very good games against Pepperdine and Tulsa. And the game-ending finish in the Tulsa game, where they were able to win in the last seconds, that has to be a big momentum booster. Overall with the team, a lot of people are contributing. It's not just the Taylor Brown show, although it was for the last 2 minutes of that one game.
The downtown Taylor Brown.
But there's Taylor Dodson's contributing, Brown, O'Donnell, people off the bench, Hutzel, Kara Wright, all the red shirts from last year are contributing. The freshmen are showing up big, which makes them a very difficult team to defend when you have multiple options. So you got to like what they did. 2 third-place finishes, 2-2 as we said. Overall, they're definitely on the rise.
Yeah, if you look at their out-of-conference schedule last season compared to this season, last year they didn't have as many strong teams as they do this year, which is why the team had such, I wouldn't say an inflated record, but they had a better record than they do right now. And when they're playing better teams, even though they're losing, I feel like they're getting better results because, as you mentioned, other players are contributing. And when it comes to A10, I mean, especially after the year Taylor Brown had, she's going to get doubled, possibly triple team.
Yep.
I mean, even the better teams that Mason been playing right now, UNLV, Western Kentucky, they aren't letting Taylor Brown score. I mean, she's having to do everything she can to get a single point out of it. And it's just starting to show that's how it's going to be in the Atlantic 10. And you're going to have a lot of players like Taylor Dodson, Kara Wright, Jewel Triggs, everyone that you mentioned. Is going to have to step up if the Patriots are going to be successful. And I think they will be, because right now they're about in that middle of the pack. They are trying to get on that verge of a great team in women's basketball. They're right on that verge, and they can get there. They just have one more hump I think they need to get over.
Yep, Millicent is bringing the energy. She's bringing a positive attitude to this team. They're coming together as a group, and that's really important, especially in college basketball, that they have chemistry and that they come together. And I think that road trip, you kind of have to start talking to your teammates and getting together with your teammates when you're on a 4-game road trip out west. So I like what they're doing, and like you said, A10 time, look out for the women's basketball team. The wrestling team is just beginning their season, riding off a 5th-place finish in the EWL in 2015. Last year's results relied heavily on the team's top wrestlers gaining strong points and getting great individual results. While the team will be without NCAA competitor Jake Kettler, the team will be returning top performers Greg Flournoy, Saheed Cargbo, and Vincent Rodriguez, who dominated in their weight classes last season. The team will have 9 freshmen joining the roster, including 6 more that are listed as redshirts. Depth will certainly be a strength for the squad this season, with 33 players on the 2015-2016 roster.
Yeah, wrestling team. I mean, last year, Jake Kettler was incredible, went to the NCAA, along with Greg Flournoy, don't want to forget him. But Jake Kettler was really kind of the face of the program. If you follow George Mason Wrestling at all, it was Jake Kettler. Now he's gone, he's graduated, he's trying to pursue a further career in wrestling. But the other guys, they're still in college, they still have to compete. We'll see how it goes forward, but they have some top-tier wrestlers that if they continue the progression that they've had so far in this career, it's going to be good for the team. And as you mentioned, 33 players on that roster of wrestlers. That's just absolutely insane. Depth will not be an issue for them going forward.
Yes, this is a team that is looking to grow, 5th last season out of only 7 teams, so they are trying to build, and with that much depth, that allows you to build because you'll be able to go into matches and experiment a little bit, see who's playing really well. Now, Vincent Rodriguez, I think, is going to be the player to watch this season. Wrestling, I believe, 136. I could be off by a few pounds, but I'm pretty sure he's in that lower tier of weight classes. But he had a very good match in the Navy Classic earlier this year, and he will be a player to watch because, as you said, dominated last season, and he should continue to have a great year this year.
Wrapping up the show, former George Mason men's basketball star Eric Copes was the first overall draft pick in the National Basketball League of Canada draft. He was selected by the Niagara River Lions, who are entering their inaugural season in the league. Copes most recently played for the Patriots last season before leaving the team in December due to personal reasons. In his 4-year career, he started in 48 games and ranked 4th all-time in George Mason history in blocks with 122, including a 51-block season his freshman year. Copes will surely be a huge pickup for the River Lions this season. Yeah, some people may be like, oh, it's only the Canadian Basketball League. But still, it shows the program that George Mason has. The National Basketball League of Canada, we'll see how they move going forward. They're a very young league, but they're able to sustain themselves. And with Eric Copes, first overall pick,
exactly.
You have to be good at something if you're the first overall draft pick.
You can't deny first overall pick. Whether it's America or Canada, it's still a number 1 overall pick. So congratulations, Eric Copes. We'll be hoping for a lot of success. We liked having him around here. It was a bit of a shame to see him depart from the team last year. Hopefully he was able to figure out all the off-the-court issues that were plaguing him. But best of luck to you in Canada, and make Mason proud.
Yeah, he joined the long list of Patriots that are actually playing professionally. Some people don't realize that because we don't have that NBA-level talent, if you will. But there are people playing that went to George Mason all over the country. Ryan Pearson, Brian Allen, he's still playing. I believe he's playing in an Italian league. Greg Norwood. There are plenty of George Mason Patriots that are playing professionally, and while they are not in the NBA, they're still making their presence known across the country. It's just incredible. If you actually do your research and find out how many there are, there's at least 15 players that are playing overseas.
Well, that'll wrap up this week's edition of Mason Sports Insider. Here's a look at this week's upcoming schedule.
If looking at what we got, as we mentioned earlier last week, the swimming and diving team will compete at Winter Nationals. We have a couple competitors competing in that one.
Yeah, all the way out in Seattle. That'll be interesting to see how they come. Looking forward to the results next week. And then men's basketball and women's basketball both competing on Wednesday night. Men's basketball traveling up to Towson to take on the Tigers, while the women's basketball team finally comes back home to take on the Georgetown Hoyas.
Yeah, we mentioned Taylor Brown's been having a rough season so far. Look at that Georgetown game. That's her former school. Yep. If you don't know, she transferred from Georgetown to go to Mason a couple of years ago. And then on Saturday, men's basketball team returned home to play against Penn. And what will be a very quiet week on the athletic front. We're starting to get that time. It's almost time for finals going forward.
Yep, dying down a little bit on the schedules. We're focusing a lot more on basketball in this time, but Allows us to do a little bit more studying for those finals, take advantage of this time, and hopefully the basketball teams will do us right, and maybe we'll be talking about 3 wins next week.
Yep, well, that is all we got for you this week. Make sure to check out our graphic sponsor and meeting provider, Giant Killer, at their website, giantkiller.co. Our Twitters are at @TheTylerByram and at @DManWard, and we will see you guys next time. Hi, once again, it is time for our Giant Killer Play of the Week. In the lone home match on the week, George Mason men's basketball team took on Wright State at Eagle Bank Arena. Now, this is a long developing play. Basically took the entire shot clock for Mason to get it off. After numerous drives not getting in, they bring it back out to Marquise Moore at the point, who drives into the lane, then finds Jair Gray, who one more pass to Otis Livingston Jr. to hit a three-point shot. Now you see here as Marquise Moore drives in, he draws 3 defenders to leave Gray wide open. He gets the last defender to come over to him, who leaves Otis wide open for the three-point shot, putting Mason up 32-10 as the George Mason Patriots would go on to defeat the Wright State Raiders 66-39 in dominating fashion. Later in the week, the George Mason men's basketball team will return home to Eagle Bank Arena to take on Penn on Saturday, so make sure you go out for that. That's all we have for you this week. For my co-host Dan Ward, I am Tyler Byram, and we will see you guys next week.